Good morning, everybody. It's January 3rd, 2018 now. So Happy New Year to everybody. And I'm making a video, my January video, like I've been making pretty much every month over the past year. And I guess today I'm going to try to answer a little bit a question that a lot of people ask us, which is, what do you do on a farm in the winter? So we get that a lot, and so I'm hoping to just give you a little bit of a snapshot of what a day in the winter looks like. So that's our cat Bunchy. He's seeing all kind of things, all kind of squirrels and birds. Oh yeah, that's a squirrel right there, I see it. Alright, so my day today started pretty much as usual with milking the cows. So actually I thought I would show you how I milk also. Hey girl. So I'm just gonna do it with one hand. This is not how I normally do it. I use both of my hands, but right now I'm just holding the camera with the other hand, so I can only use one hand. And right now I'm milking Oshi, and she gives about a gallon. And then after her, I'm going to be milking Jasmine. She also gives me about a gallon. And then the rest of the milk they produce, their babies take it. Their babies are with them all day long. So yeah, that's it. Just simple, no machine, nothing. Just I milk by hand. But she's happy. She's eating her grain and her treats in there, carrots and radishes and some hay. And these guys are happy eating their hay out there. So, alright, that's it. And so I just finished doing that. And this is my milk, 2 gallons about. And I'm going to make some cheese with that today as well. So that's one thing that we do a lot, or I do a lot, and the girls do some too, which is, just taking care of the animals. So these guys, the ducks and the chickens, I'll show you the chickens, but, they need some care in the winter. And I just wanted to show you, they're not really crazy about the snow. So whereas in the summer and the spring, the fall, they love to roam around, now they pretty much stay put near their little house. So that means the house needs to be cleaned a lot more, because it gets nastier in there than it usually would. So just gonna walk to the cows and show you how they're doing. It's been really cold. It's been kind of difficult, hard on the hands milking. My hands get really cold and the milk freezes to the bucket. But I still like doing it. I still like getting out there every morning. So here's the greenhouse. Pretty much nothing in there right now. I'm gonna plant my first seeds in the next week. I'm gonna seed some lettuces and some carrots, some more salad mix. But right now the soil is just there's nothing in the ground. It's just covered, just to protect it. And so here are the chickens. These guys are still being moved every day on the field, so you can see the tracks of their movable home here. So we're still moving them so they get access to fresh, clean ground. So here they are. It's actually nice and warm in here because you can see their coop is all covered in plastic, and with the sun it really doesn't take much to warm it up, so it's really nice in here. Actually right now it's about, I don't know, 50 or 60. So I don't do the chickens. The chickens are my daughters and my husband. That's their job, but that's something also that has to be done every day. Oh, and I saw an egg here. Let me get it. I'm gonna have this for breakfast. There you go. Hey friends. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the egg. Eggs are pretty hard to come by at this time of the year. They're not laying a lot, so I'm pretty happy to have gotten this one. Sometimes when it's especially cold outside, we bring these guys in. These are Sana and Ayana's chickens. Oh, okay, no, only Ayana's chickens, I was told. Hey guys! So they're gonna spend the night inside today. Alright. So now that the cows, I'm gonna go see the cows, and you know, in the summer and the spring and the fall when the weather is good and there's grass growing, if you watch the other videos I made, you know that our cows are never in the same spot. We just rotate them. It's called rotational grazing. So they're always on a fresh piece of ground or a fresh area with fresh grass. And so as far as manure accumulation, that's not a problem because they just they're not in a spot for longer than half a day, so it doesn't get nasty with their manure. But in the winter it's a different story because, as you can see, right now the ground is covered in snow, so there is no grass to rotate them on. So we're feeding them hay, and they're in this area permanent, well, the whole winter basically, in this area that we have here, which is they have their movable shelter, and it's enclosed. You see there's electric fencing enclosing them, so they have that, and they have this whole area right here, and they have also 2 covered little barns that they can go into if they want to for protection or shelter when it's kind of crazy snowy out. So this is one area they go in, and this is the other one. And so the work that needs to be done with them, with all of this, is you know, they need to be mucked out, cleaned out every day. Otherwise it would get really nasty in here really quick. So I haven't done it today, but you can see their cow pads. I'm gonna come out here and do it soon. So all of this stuff, I'm gonna have to pick it up, their manure, and I bring it to our compost pile, and then we got amazing compost out of it that we use to fertilize our fields and our growing area. Hey Joopie, how's it going, friend? This is Joopie, our steer. These guys, I just milked them, so here's little Omio. He's getting so big. Ah, friend. Mama Oshi, she gave about 1 gallon, and this is Mama Jasmine, another gallon from her, and this is her baby Juliet. It's looking pretty big. Huh, sweetheart? This is how big Jasmine was when we first got her. Yeah. No, she's a big cow. So, another task that needs to be done with the animals is make sure we always have enough hay. You know, bring the hay down for them. And that sounds kind of easy, but it's not always easy because when there's a lot of snow on the ground, it's kind of hard to get the hay back here. So, anyway, that's not a daily task. That's just something that has to be done, you know, once a week or something. But the mucking out is definitely daily. The milking is daily. So. All right. So that's about it for the animals. I think that gives a good idea. I'm gonna go back to the house now. And I'll show you guys some other stuff that, other things we do in the winter. All right, so another thing I do quite a bit of during the winter is, you know, regular cooking, just cooking meals for the family. But also I do a lot of preservation and fermentation. And so here I'm just showing you a little bit of my cheeses. So I have these cheeses right here. I make cheese I'll make about one wheel every 2 to 3 days. So about 3 wheels per week. And each wheel is about 4 gallons of milk goes into making one of these wheels. So I make them and then I age them. So this is my cheese making right now. Just stirring the curds. And I have a full video on the whole process of cheese making. And so if you are interested in that, I'm going to put the link to it down in the description of this one. So here I also have this is sauerkraut. So this is fermented. And I made about 3 gallons so far. This is just a little bit. The rest of it is downstairs in my root cellar where I'm keeping it. But this is just a little bit that I have on the table so we can eat out of it. And this right here is apple cider vinegar. That's also another thing, another fermented product. And I make that with the apples that we harvested from our orchard, and we still have quite a few of them downstairs in the root cellar. And so this vinegar is actually really tasty, and I love it so much that I almost feel like drinking it because it's nice and sweet. It's not crazy tart, or it's just not too strong. So I really love it for just putting a little bit in my water or cooking with it or salad. And the great thing about it too is that you don't even need to use fresh apples for it or anything. You just any apple scraps that you have. So when we eat an apple, we'll just cut out the flesh, and the core goes into making this vinegar. So I really like that because there's just no waste at all, and you can you can just make a lot with what you have. So that's another thing I do, not on a daily basis, but definitely on a weekly basis. I'll make something, I'll make a fermented something, sauerkraut or vinegar. Sometimes I make fermented carrots and cheese pretty much every week. Another thing I make from the milk that our cows give us is yogurt. And I make it about 2 to 3 times a week because we eat quite a bit of it. And yogurt is probably the easiest thing I make. It's just, you just use a little bit of yogurt that you already have. And, maybe this much yogurt I start with. Then I fill the rest of the jar with fresh milk. And then I put it overnight in this super low-key, bare bones yogurt maker, which is just basically just keeps it at a certain temperature overnight. You can get it for about $30. So it's really simple, and it's tasty, and it's a great fermented product if you want to get a little bit of beneficial bacteria into you. So another thing I do in the winter is I homeschool my daughters, and they mostly do, well, they do a lot of work on their own, but I'm the one who basically goes over it and corrects their math and their English essays, for example, and I'm the one who comes up with the schedule, and actually a lot of time goes into that, preparing the curriculum and exactly what we're going to be studying. And so, and I'm also the one who, if there are any questions or any misunderstanding, I try to sit down and explain it in detail, making sure that everybody gets the concepts. And so anyway, that's a big commitment. That's always, I underestimate how much time that takes. That's really a full-time commitment right there. Another thing I spend the winter doing is crop planning. So basically looking over the crop data from the previous year and even years past, and seeing what crops did well and what crops didn't, and trying to decide what to go forward with in the next year, you know, what to replant and what not to plant again, or what to do different. So anyway, all this I call crop planning, and I have, you know, a lot of information based on the previous 10 years or whatever, however long we've been farming, to guide me ahead with this. And then out of that comes some really useful stuff that I use during the season. So for instance, these are all kind of messed up because I've been using them for the past year, but you know, I make a plan, for example, of what's going to go in the ground and when. So week by week, basically, what kind of crops am I going to plant and where. So I have a map of the fields, basically, and so I decide based on principles of crop rotation and, you know, other considerations, just what crop is going to go where. And all of this stuff is basically done in Excel. My husband put together a really great spreadsheet that does all of this stuff and takes in all of our data, all of our crop data that we collect during the season, such as crop yields. Like every time we harvest something, we record it in the spreadsheet, and then at the end of the season we have pretty good numbers on, you know, how much 100 foot of tomatoes yielded in pounds, stuff like that. And also based on all this information, a lot of the stuff I do is go through seed catalogs. Like these guys are pretty much my main ones, but I have at least 4 or 5 other ones. So going through Johnny Seeds and Fedco and deciding, you know, what seeds are we going to order for this year. And unfortunately, we don't save our own seeds. It's on most crops. We do on a couple of crops, but not many, just because it's this whole other undertaking that I just don't have time for. And so anyway, that's something that would be cool to do, but we're not doing right now. So we're ordering seeds from these seed companies.